It is Tuesday, October 6, 2020, and this is an update on the Three Gorges Dam and current events in China. We have three pieces of information to cover today, including a look at the water level and the live stream from the dam. Also, courtesy of Asia Times, U.S. awakens to rare earth mineral gap. We also have some new tweets. Let's hop into it. And a brief caveat before today's video. While researching for these reports, I come across information from various sources. Just because I decide to include a piece of information doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. I like to let you decide for yourself. Moving on. And first, let's check in on the live stream at the dam. And the spillway angle camera is still up and running today. And now let's have a look at the side angle camera. It remains deactivated. And now let's have a look at the water level at the dam. The current water level is 171.14 meters. The current inflow is not noted, and the current outflow is listed at 23,700 cubic meters per second. It is worth noting that these numbers are released by the CCP. Over the past 24 hours, the water level at the dam has risen from 170.5 meters to over 171 meters. Upstream at Kuntan, the water level has also risen in the past 24 hours. It was 174.5 meters, and it currently sits at over 175.4 meters. One thing to keep in mind is that the CCP does keep the water level at the dam higher during the non-rainy season. I don't know the exact date that this process starts though. And this comes courtesy of the Asia Times. U.S. awakens to rare earth mineral gap. The Trump administration has finally awakened to the frightening fact that China controls 80% of America's rare earth mineral supply, a disturbing reality that the Pentagon wants to end once and for all. Rare earth minerals are a group of 17 minerals critical to the defense industry, as well as consumer electronics like cell phones. A day prior to being airlifted to Walter Reed Hospital, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency in the mining industry, an action aimed at boosting domestic production, Defense News Online reported. Trump also ordered his cabinet secretaries to study the matter with an eye toward government grants for production equipment, as well as tariffs, quotas, or other important restrictions against China. The order states that the country's undue reliance on critical minerals in processed or unprocessed form from foreign adversaries constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat, which has its source in substantial part outside the United States, to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. The Trump administration previously identified 35 minerals as both essential and whose supplies are vulnerable to disruption, the report said. The U.S. imports 80% of these elements directly from China, with portions of the remainder indirectly sourced from China through other countries. Appearing before the Senate Armed Services Committee's Readiness and Management Support Subcommittee, Ellen Lord, the top acquisition official at the Pentagon, called for congressional aid in creating a strategy for rare earth minerals. The report said, U.S. rare earth mineral strategy should, with necessary congressional authorization and appropriations, consist of national stockpiles of certain rare earth elements, reestablishing rare earth mineral processing in the U.S. by implementing new incentives and removing disincentives, and around new forms of clean rare earth mineral processing and substitutes, Lord testified. We will need your help. Subcommittee Chairman Dan Sullivan warned that China's domination of rare earth minerals is outrageous, pointing to a 2010 incident when China cut off rare earth elements to Japan as proof that the dependence on a global competitor is a national security issue, the report said. While agreeing with the risk, Lord said the short-term solutions are to increase the mining of domestic sources while trying to increase stockpiles of critical materials, as well as looking for alternative sources. We are on a trajectory to increase our national defense stockpile relative to rare earth minerals. The silver lining of the pandemic has been that I think most Americans now understand the importance of having domestic supplies, Lord said. The Pentagon sent Congress a legislative proposal in May that would raise the spending caps under the Defense Production Act to enable the government to spend up to $1.75 billion on rare earth elements. And in April, the U.S. government awarded contracts for heavy rare earth mineral separation and issued solicitations for the processing of light separation and for magnets. Under current law, the Defense Department cannot invest more than $50 million in funds from the Defense Production Act without additional congressional notification, but the Pentagon's legislative proposal would raise this cap to $350 million. Despite their name, most rare earth elements are relatively abundant. The process of mining rare earths and transforming them into usable materials is, however, expensive and damaging to the environment, China Power Online reported. For years, Beijing exploited its relatively low-cost labor force and lax environmental laws to gain a competitive edge in the global market and become the leading supplier of rare earths. It now controls 90% of global rare earth production. According to China's General Administration of Customs, China exported 45,552 metric tons of rare earths, worth $398 million in 2019. The vast majority of these exports went to the world's major economic and technological powerhouses. About 36% went to Japan, making it the top destination of Chinese rare earths. The U.S. was a close second, taking in 33.4% of Chinese exports. Alongside the Netherlands' 9.6%, South Korea's 5.4%, and Italy's 3.5%, these 5 countries imported a combined 87.8% of China's rare earth exports. China's dominance in the rare earth industry is the result of decades of target industrial policies aimed at leapfrogging other nations. In recent years, Beijing has also looked to reform China's rare earth industry to enhance efficiency, better protect the environment, and crack down on illegal mining. Thank you for watching this video. If you're finding it informative, please consider giving the channel a subscribe. And our last piece of information is a series of interesting tweets. And I think that's a good place to wrap up today's video. I hope that you found it informative, and check back soon for more content.